Welcome to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. Business advice so easy, you'll feel like you're cheating. And now your host, Amy Porterfield.
Hey there, everybody. Amy Porterfield here, and I am so excited to be coming to you with something new. We're trying something new today that I think is going to be so fun to dive into because I have a special guest. Her name is Anna Digilio. Anna, say hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited that you're here as well. And here's why I've got Anna here. Today, we are doing something called the $1 Million Club Student Spotlight, where I am spotlighting some of my students who are doing amazing things in their business. Now, don't let the $1 Million Club throw you off because Anna didn't start with making $1 million out of the gate. She's going to share her story with you. But so many of you ask me, Amy, can I really take one of your courses and see that kind of success? But I'm in this kind of niche or that kind of niche. Would this really work for me? And I thought instead of me continuing to tell you that you can do this, you can grow your email list, you can create courses online, and you can definitely do webinars. Instead of me telling you that, I thought, why not have some of my students who have gone before you to tell their own story? So that's exactly what we're going to do here today. We're going to make it quick. We're going to dive right into it so that you can get a little shot of what it looks like to go through one of my programs and to see success. So Anna, tell me what you did before you became an entrepreneur and what you do in your business now.
Sure, I would love to. So thank you so much for having me on. This is really exciting.
I'm so excited you're here.
Me too. So basically, I have been a second grade teacher for 23 years. That was basically my life's calling. So I've been a teacher for 23 years. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I started selling my lesson plans and resources and activities that I used in my classroom for years online through an online marketplace called Teachers Pay Teachers. And it's just kind of like an Etsy for teachers. So I started selling my lesson plans and activities there and resources that I used in my own classroom. And my business kind of grew pretty quickly out of something that I thought I would get a little bit of just side money on, to pay a bill or, I live in New York. My husband's a firefighter. I was a teacher. So we both always had 2 jobs. So I just thought it would be important for me to have another way of bringing money into the household. And that's kind of what happened. But my business started growing pretty quickly. And I was like, wow, this is really this is a business, So that's kind of how it started. And then
okay, wait, I got 2 questions for you. Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
I don't think I knew that your husband was a firefighter since mine's a firefighter as well. I didn't realize that. So cool.
Yes,
I love that. I love when I find similarities between my life and my students' life. So cool. And the second thing is when you started selling your curriculum online, you were still a teacher, right? You hadn't quit yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So you were doing
I was
both.
still working full time.
Okay, cool.
Yes. I was working 2 full-time jobs at that point.
Okay, gotcha. Because that definitely becomes a lot of work, especially as it starts to see some success. You're like, I want to spend some time here. Now, before you ever bought one of my courses, where do you feel like you were maybe having some challenges? Because it sounds like it was going well right out of the gate. So where did you have some challenges before you thought, I need to get an online training course to help me?
Well, I realized that I didn't know anything about, I knew that. I didn't know anything about business. I mean, I was a teacher. I was around 7-year-olds all day long. So building a business was not something I knew anything about. So when I realized that, wow, this is really a business, I need to learn about business, that was when you came into my life. And that's when I started just consuming every possible thing that you put out there. I started to consume to learn from and understand how to grow an online business. I didn't know how to do that.
Well, I always say Anna's one of my favorite students. I know I shouldn't have favorites, but the reason I just gravitate toward Anna is because she's a go-getter. So I obviously supply online training courses. That's what I do in my business, but I can only take that so far before a student says, bring it on. I'm going for total immersion. I'm making this work. And Anna definitely does the work. So I just want to point that out, that her success is not all because of my programs, but because she really was committed to making this work. And Anna, before we talk about your turning point, when did you really start realizing, I bought one of Amy's courses and it's actually working for me? Before you got there, when was the point that you realized you could leave your teaching job and actually, did that come a lot later? Like, tell me how that worked.
Yes, I didn't actually retire from teaching till a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago was when I finally when I realized that I could make a bigger impact on education as a whole. That to me was the turning point where I said, wow, I could really impact education, across the country and the world in a much bigger way. So when I realized that, I felt like I had kind of like, I don't know, like bigger shoes to fill,
Yes.
And that was and then I realized I was definitely making more doing this than teaching. So I said, maybe it's time. So my husband and I did a lot of soul searching and a lot of discussion. And I finally decided it was time to retire from the classroom.
Okay, so cool. So talk to me about what you specifically did to get results in your side hustle that has now become your full-time gig now that you're fully retired as a teacher. What did you do and how did you use my courses in order to see big results? Because we're going to talk about the results next. I want you to give numbers and details and all that good stuff, the stuff I love to hear and I want other people to hear as well. But what exactly did you do based on what you leared?
Well, first and foremost, I entered your world through your podcast. I never even knew what a podcast was.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So I entered your world through your podcast. And the first thing I kind of learned about was when you were talking about webinars on your podcast. So that was kind of my first initial kind of entry into your world. And you were talking about webinars and I took your webinar on webinars and I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do this. Like I can teach teachers online. My main goal is to help teachers really nail down small group instruction, to really reach their struggling learners and reach their advanced learners. So I said, well, I could do this online. So I took your webinar course and then, I listened to your webinar and then of course I bought your course.
Love it.
And that was a big step for me because that was $1,000 program. And I was like, I can't even believe I'm going to spend $1,000 on this, but I did it. And 6 weeks later, I ran my first webinar and the results were unbelievable. I still can't believe the results from it. And then I've been running webinars ever since.
Okay. So what did you sell on your webinar?
So on my webinar, I created a year-long guided math curriculum to teach teachers how to teach math through small group instruction. Instead of teaching in front of the classroom to the whole group, it's about teaching children the way they need to be taught and how they need to learn the best way that they learn. So I taught them how to implement guided math, which is small group instruction for math. And then at the end of the webinar, I pitched my guided math year-long curriculum. And at that point, I only had one grade level, which was second grade, because that was the grade that I was in. And those were the resources I was using. So that's what I pitched at the end of the webinar.
And how much was it?
It was $100. The curriculum was $100 exactly.
And how much money did you make on your first webinar?
Oh my God, I still can't even believe it. So that night, it was the first time I ever did a webinar. So I made over $10,000 that first on the webinar itself, that night on the webinar.
Isn't that, okay, for a second grade teacher especially, isn't that life-changing, that moment that you realized, holy cow, in 1 hour, I just made $10,000?
It was at that moment, that night, that I realized this was real. Like, this was happening, and I could make it happen if I just took action on everything I learned. And that was kind of like my aha moment. Like, you just need to take action on things that you learn, and you'll get results from it.
Oh, so true. Okay, so I need to know, first of all, what did your husband think? Because my husband is blue collar to the bone. Our husbands being firefighters. What I mean by that is they don't live in this world of online marketing like we do. So when you look at him and you say, hey, babe, I just made $10,000 on a webinar that I did tonight. Like, what does he think of stuff like that?
He's still blown away by what I've created. Like, he still is like, how is this happening? Like, I can't even believe I went from a teacher's salary to what I'm making now. But even more than that, it fills my heart to know that I'm really helping the world of education in a much bigger way. Like, that's my passion. Yes, making money is so important. And I love that because I don't have to worry about money anymore. Living in New York, it's expensive,
Right.
So, but now I feel like I could do something I absolutely love and feel passionate about and really make a great living doing it.
This is why I chose to talk to you, Anna, because I knew it wasn't all about the money. Yes, we got to talk about it. Yes, it's exciting, but your whole world has changed because you decided to do something different and take a leap. And what I love is you didn't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start being an entrepreneur and do an online business. But instead, you did both. And I call that the side hustle until you're ready to take that leap. And you took a while to take the leap, which I love as well. I tell my students, don't quit your day job just yet. Let's kind of ease into this. And yes, it's hard to do both. I did both as well for a while, but it's so much better when you do so. So give me some more results. Like, tell me more about your business, like what it looks like today. And I want people to hear about what you've done, how you've promoted, what the numbers look like, and this impact. Like, how many people have you served?
Oh gosh, I still wake up every morning thinking like, how is this my life? Like, it's still amazing to me,
Yes.
So I have so much to tell you.
Tell me it all.
So like I said, when I entered your world, I just immersed myself in everything you taught. And what I loved about your teaching was the way you taught. Being a teacher myself, everything is step by step and chronological and broken down into actionable steps. And that's how I teach. So the fact that I was learning from someone that taught exactly like me, it was like this match made in heaven. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do what she's teaching me, because you did it in such a way that it didn't overwhelm me and it didn't make me nervous. And it made me feel like I could do it, So after that, I continued, I changed that webinar into an evergreen webinar. So it ran as an evergreen webinar for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
So that's been running. Yeah. So that's been running as an evergreen for almost 2 years. And then as I continued to, now the funny thing about it was I didn't really make any other webinars after that because I kind of understood how to do them. And then I said, okay, let's try something else. Let's do something else. Let's learn something else. So then I took your List Builders Lab because I knew I needed to grow my email list bigger than it already was because I wasn't really focusing on that. So that was my next thing that I wanted to focus on. So I took List Builders Lab and I've been building my list ever since. And I learned what an opt-in was. I had no idea what an opt-in was.
Fantastic. What I love is that you didn't know how to do all of this and no one teaches you until you teach yourself, which is why I love online courses. Whether somebody buys an online course from me to learn how to market online or somebody else, someone's got to teach you. And I love that you weren't too proud to say, I'll figure it out on my own and get a bunch of free stuff out there and try to piece it together. You put down some cold, hard cash and said, I'm going to learn from someone who's gone before me. And I love that about you.
I'd rather get it right from the source and learn it step by step than try to piecemeal. Who has the time to piecemeal? I don't have that kind of time.
Amen, sister. I hear ya. So what did you do after webinars? What did you decide was, then you started to list build. Okay. So you went into List Builders Lab, one of my programs. You started to build your email list. Obviously you started with 0. How many people do you have on your email list now?
A little over 50,000.
Oh my gosh. People would kill for a list of 50,000. And what's crazy is you don't even need 50,000 to be successful with your online business. But the fact that you have that many people blows my mind. Okay, incredible. And then what did you do from list building? Where'd you go from there?
Okay, so at that point, you didn't have courses that convert. That didn't come out yet. So I just continued to listen to all of your podcasts. I listened to every single one since the beginning. So I learned, you taught me about, one of your podcasts was about different streams of revenue in your business and other ways to make money in your business. And you talked about recurring revenue. Mm-hmm. And you talked about membership sites.
Yes.
And you talked about, you introduced me to Rick Mulready, which I also took his course on Facebook advertising. So I did that. And then you talked about Stu McLaren, who does memberships. So I said, okay, I need to learn that now because I knew that I wanted some type of community for my teachers that was just mine, that I owned. And it was the way I could make a bigger impact. So I took Stu's course and I launched a membership site.
So
and I did that.
incredible. So what does that look like? So you have a membership site. What does that look like for you?
So it's just for second and third grade teachers. And it basically is every month I deliver less fully developed scripted lesson plans for teachers for reading, like small group reading instruction, small group math instruction, language arts instruction. So I give them full blown written out detailed lesson plans that's connected to the standards and using literature and just all of the things I did in my own classroom. It just allows me to share them with my members now.
So fantastic.
And I have a little over 3,000 members in my membership site.
Oh my goodness. And how much do they pay you every month?
So right now it's $19.99 a month.
Great. What I also really appreciate about what you do is you know your ideal customer avatar. You know that you are serving teachers, and teachers are strapped for cash. They're taking money out of their own pocket to pay for curriculum for their students. My sister is a teacher, so I totally get it. And so with that, you are catering to these teachers, knowing they're not going to lay down thousands of dollars for what you're doing. However, you're making a play of getting a lot of teachers into your world so that you are able to build this incredibly lucrative business. So I also think that is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. But then you launched courses that convert.
Yes, that is true. So you've created a course since then.
Yes. I just launched it 3 weeks ago. So
oh my gosh. Give me some details.
For you to come out.
Give me some details. What's the course about? How did the promotion go? I need details.
Okay, so like I said, I bought courses that convert, and it took me a little bit longer to build out my course only because I was also building out my membership simultaneously.
Gotcha.
So it definitely took me longer than it normally takes me to put things into action, but I knew it was coming. So I created a course on how to implement guided math in your classroom. And it's exactly what my webinar was, but it went much, 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 much deeper.
Cool.
So it just teaches, so it teaches teachers how to implement this form of mathematical teaching in their classroom.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I created the course and I built it on WordPress, used Wishlist Member, all that stuff. So I launched it 3 weeks ago, and I did an introductory pricing. So I wanted to kind of give an introductory pricing to launch it. So I launched it at $79 for each teacher license, but I also offered school district licensing as well. So school districts can purchase multiple licenses because I'm promoting it as professional development. So there are teachers that go to schools and do professional development, and I'm just doing it online instead of going and traveling the United States. I just do it online.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So will you share with us how you did?
Yes. So it's only been live 3 weeks, and I've already made over $35,000 with the course.
I can't even handle it. Knowing that is some teacher's salary for the whole year. Like, it is mind-blowing to me. And it makes me feel emotional because I know that you are an example of what other teachers or any other buddy in any other niche could actually do. I wanted to do this with you, Anna, because I wanted to show people the possibility. What else is out there? What's waiting for them? So what do you think it took in you to say, you know what? I enjoy being a teacher. I love serving the students and I love what I do, but there's something else waiting for me or bigger for me or whatever. Like, what was going through your mind? Because I want other people watching to hear you say it as well.
Well, to be completely honest and transparent, education has changed a lot over the last 8 years. I've been in it for 23 years, but over the last 8 years, it really changed a lot in terms of the state mandates and the standards. And I felt like it was more about a numbers game than it was about real, true learning and helping your students love to learn and love to read. And it was kind of wearing me down a little bit because it was taking away my love of teaching. And I didn't want that because I have such a passion for it. And when I realized that I was able to touch education in a bigger way than just with my 23 students, it felt right to me because it would allow me to share my love of teaching and my passion for teaching to teachers all over the world and maybe help education in the process. So that's kind of how it transpired.
So good. Because I think some people are listening and they love who they serve or what they're doing to support, but something's just off and they've lost that excitement for it, or it's not as exciting to them anymore. And so they want to change things up. And I feel like you took that leap and you did something about it, which is so incredibly cool. Obviously, you have a $1 million business now, or we wouldn't call this the $1 Million Club Student Spotlight. So I'm so proud of you. But if you look back, two things I want to ask you. Number one, is there anything you do differently? If you look back at Anna when she was still a second grade teacher and hadn't yet really gone out to do what you're doing now, what might you do a little bit differently next time around if you had another chance?
There's definitely two things I would do differently. Number one, I would have started building my email list way sooner.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Way sooner.
Me too.
Had I known that was so important way back when, I would have done that right when I started my business. But I didn't really start building my email list till about 2.5 years ago, maybe about 2.5 years ago. So that's the first thing I would do. And the second thing is, it kind of revolves around fear. Like, fear was a big thing for me, leaving my pension. I mean, I had a New York State pension, and I left that, and that created a lot of fear in me and a lot of anxiety because I was leaving this amazing school district and I was leaving a real teaching pension, a New York State pension. So that was really scary. But I have to say is that I don't want, fear is such a, it just kind of makes you freeze, and it just, it makes you scared to jump and take a leap of faith. And I've learned that that's what makes the biggest impact in your life is when you really do face those fears and say, I can do this, and that was a big thing because my husband, he's a firefighter, like I said, and he's all about saving money and pensions and being ready to retire when we're ready. And he was deathly afraid of me doing this. I mean, it was a struggle to get him on board. Finally he's on board.
Right. Now it's looking a whole lot better, right?
whole lot better. But fear is a real thing that I would say, don't let that stop you from taking a jump and taking a leap of faith. And again, don't do it right off the bat. I waited. I worked on my business for a full 5 years before I took the leap. And I made sure that this was something I could do and I could bring in the revenue I needed to bring in. But don't let fear stop you. I think that's something I wish I would have done it earlier because I think my business would have been at a different level if I left a little bit earlier,
Right.
But, okay. So I think those are my two things.
So good though. I love that we're wrapping this up with saying, don't let fear stop you. And I always say, just do it afraid. You can be scared. I was terrified to leave my corporate job almost 10 years ago. Terrified. But I'm so glad I did it while I was terrified. I did it even though I was scared. And you're right. I kind of wish I did it a little earlier. So anybody who's watching, they're thinking, I've been thinking about this idea forever. I don't know if I should do it. You're going to wish you did it sooner if you would just do something. So I want to put a challenge out there to everybody who's watching, no matter where you are in your business, no matter what you're doing, do something in the next 24 hours that gets you a little bit closer from taking the leap and doing what you've always wanted to do. Just one little step, a phone call, you need to send an email to somebody, you need to make a decision, whatever it might be. Because Anna and I wish we would have taken that leap just a little bit sooner, but I had the fear, you did too. So I'm so glad you were honest about that. So thank you so much.
This is my pleasure.
It's so fun to talk to you about all of this. And
thank you.
I want everyone to know that you were able to do this, even though you didn't know how to do online marketing. You weren't necessarily an entrepreneur from the start.
No.
You learned how to be one and you did what it took to get there. So first I want to say, Anna, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's nerve-wracking to get on live on video to talk about your success, but you have been a huge success. You should be so proud of yourself and what you created. So thank you for letting me be just a little part of that.
Oh my goodness. I should be thanking you. You're the reason my business is the way it is. I'm telling you, you are the reason I have the business I have. So thank you.
Anna, seriously, you're going to make me cry. So don't make me go there. But I also want to let you all know, if you're wondering, okay, Amy, you say you have all these courses. Where do I start? What do I do? One of the courses that I really like to tell people about is my Courses That Convert program, because it teaches you how to take your skill. Like Anna knew things. She had skill and knowledge, and she was able to turn it into a course. Now, I also talk about list building inside of Courses That Convert. So if you want to get on a free webinar, exactly what Anna did from the get-go, she just got on a free webinar where I walked her through what it takes to get going, then go to amyporterfield.com/build my course. amyporterfield.com/build my course. We're going to post it in a link below this video so you can get that link as well. But go check it out and see if it's something that might be for you. It's free. You've got nothing to lose. But if you just want a little kick in the butt, like where do I even start? I think that's a really great place to start. I didn't have that course when Anna first started, or I would have told her to start there as well, but she figured it out. I also have a podcast called Online Marketing Made Easy if you're interested in learning some tips and tricks to get your business up and running online. Anna, thanks again for being here. I am so very lucky to know you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Of course. I can't wait to talk to you again. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I will see you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast at www.amyporterfield.com.